we are, as humans, we are social creatures, and I think you should maintain your support network. You maybe don't even need to, unload about specifically your chronic pain issues. I think just feeling the warmth and friendship of people who value you validates everything you're fighting for.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Lorenzo. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me on Untitled Mental Health Project. In this series, we're shining a light on mental health in the tech industry, which is, a topic usually overlooked but incredibly important. And my hope is that by having this type of conversation, even one of the 4 people that will actually listen to it will say, you know what, I'm actually going to start taking care about my mental health. And if we've done that, if we convince one person, that's it, we're good. That's already a difference, and I'm already happy with it. So, Jamie, let's dive right into it. You had a very significant journey into tech. Could you maybe start from there? Like, could you tell us a bit more about your role, what you do in tech, and like in general in software engineering?
So, right now I'm working in Japan as a software engineer, and should I call myself a full stack web dev? I feel more of a front end web dev, but we're using Next.js, so I guess it qualifies as full stack. I don't know how much I can say about particularly what I'm making because I don't know what's confidential. But anyway, I'm full stack dev. As for how I got into software engineering, I started out. It's a very meandering path because I started as a I studied genetics, and then I went into English teaching, and I found that sort of neither academia nor English teaching really suited me. And I got into software engineering because I saw my brother was doing it, and I thought, oh gee, the situation of that job looks kind of nice. And actually, as it's on topic, I should mention one of the reasons I chose to transition into software engineering was I want to say chronic pain without specifically going into which chronic pain here. I want to make this generic for everyone, but I had a particular chronic pain going on which did not suit me for desk work where you look down at a table, but worked a lot better looking forward. So I thought, geez, if only I could get a job working with a computer. Yeah, so that's what I would say.
And you're also involved in open source, right?
I am. It's an
intoxicating. Small thing.
An intoxicating hobby. I just love, tinkering on stuff in my spare time, kind of coming up with things where I go, I'd really like to have that for myself, but it doesn't exist yet, so I'm just gonna have to make it myself, and maybe other people will want it. In practice, not many other people really want the projects I make, but I keep foolishly making this stuff. It's real fun. I suppose I should say sort of what kind of stuff I make. I work a lot in the cross-platform sector, so React Native especially, that's sort of how we got to know each other. But I'm also the chair of the NativeScript Technical Steering Committee as of recently, because I'm really interested in how you call native functions from JavaScript, because I hate writing native code, but I love using the platform, and I love JavaScript. It's just the best. So I want to bring NativeScript to React Native if possible, bring it everywhere. You should all get a taste of it.
Awesome. And thank you for that. I wanted to bring it up because, we're going to talk about chronic pains. Open source is sometimes also chronic pain in a way. But, now actually focusing on the true topic, which, as you already mentioned, I wanted to chat with you about chronic pain. The inciting incident for that was the fact that you've been very open about it. You're not only being an open source developer, you've also been open about your experience. You wrote a blog post about it. And before we dive into the actual blog post, I wanted to give everyone like a baseline that we can, all understand what we're going to talk about. Can you tell us a bit, in general, like what chronic pain entails? Like, just want to make sure that everyone understands the basics of it.
So chronic pain, perhaps in contrast to acute pain, where acute pain is a very maybe immediate pain you get that may resolve in a few days or with treatment. Chronic pain is often characterized by being something that keeps on going and is pretty resistant to treatment. It might not be, well, sometimes it's quite clear what it is. Like maybe you've got back pain. It's like, well, obviously that's what's going on. But I'm pretty sure there's all sorts of pains. I think in my experience, you can live with a pain for a long time and keep going to doctors and they'll say, don't know what this is. Sorry, mate. And all the usual medicines, ibuprofen, paracetamol, don't. A lot of the pains you have, they may not really do much for it. So yeah, a very resistant long-term pain that is not responsive to treatments. The best thing often you can do is learn to manage it and learn strategies to deal with it. And so it's very draining mentally to know that you're stuck with this pain, and yeah, you've got if you're in a baseline level of pain from day to day, it can increase your stress, and that can lead to other sorts of mental issues. Pretty much, everything bad you can think of mentally, I'm pretty sure can come in one way or another indirectly from the things that chronic pain brings on. And that's very vague, though. Don't take my word for that. So, and it's also a very widespread problem. So, for just looking at some figures here, for example, The Lancet reports that nearly 10% of the world's population suffered from low back pain. So that's just one of many kinds of chronic pain, just in the year 2020. And it costs the NHS nearly £5 billion a year from GP appointments alone. Not to mention sort of productivity lost in the workplace. People having to take days off work, go get surgeries and that kind of thing. And in the US, lower back pain cost them around $600 billion in 2008. And I've got more and more of these stats, so we can go into them. But you can expect around 1 in 10 people in various countries to be going through, whether it's lower back pain or repetitive strain injury or some other chronic pain. People are going through a lot, and it affects productivity. So we'll link to those in the description, I'm pretty sure.
Totally, absolutely. And I think some of these stats maybe will even are kind of surprising even to me. 1 in 10 is a lot. And, I was kind of surprised that not more people, talk about it, because the lower back pain, that sounds like, I hear a lot of people complain, oh, I have lower, but none of them oh, this is actually chronic pain, as to actually, learn to live with it. So I really hope that in a way, even your perspective on this may help someone that maybe has a chronic pain and is listening to this, is oh, maybe this is actually chronic pain. Learn a bit better how to cope with it and all that jazz. And going into this and going back to your blog post, actually, I really like the honesty and how, for example, even at the start you say, oh, I'm writing this to, and I quote, how I make life a bit more bearable and do my best to stay productive despite it all. And there's such a, I love it. I really love that blog post. I love how you're open and, you're vulnerable, but you're also accepting. I think that a crucial skill that you share indirectly through some of the suggestions that you do in the blog post is literally this idea of accepting that this is something you'll have to live with, and what can I do despite it? How can I, yes, this is gonna be challenging, but I can live with it and make my life still worth, and I can still do the things that I want. So I would before we talk about the specific recommendations and suggestions that you give to people that you apply to your own life, I wanted to maybe start from here, acceptance. It's a key word. I really think that in tech, our demographic, white male people, it's very hard to be people that develop the skill of acceptance. So can you maybe talk a bit about your journey to get to acceptance and how it helped you heal or find a better balance?
So, it is hard and it is a long journey. It's definitely not a binary thing where suddenly you go one day, I've accepted it. Uh, it is a process of getting closer to acceptance, and maybe you waver along the way. And it is hard, as you say, with the culture where it's fashionable to show no cracks and to be unstoppable and to just keep shipping. Especially in open source, it's all about the great stuff we make and how we're unstoppable. But it's quite exhausting to keep up with. And as a chronic pain sufferer, you have the constant weight of looking back a certain number of years and going, the things I could do back then compared to now. And it's very important not to keep comparing yourself to your healthiest ever state. And that's not just for chronic pain. That's that can be for mental health or anything. Like we age. I think there's some kind of metaphor as to plants that grow in rough places. Grow all the better or something like that. But basically, you will go through hardships in your life, and the main thing is to look forwards and say, all right, well, I'm at a new baseline. What can I do with it? And don't get obsessed with the past, because it will really weigh down on you. I was for a long time thinking, man, I really wanted to get into research. That was my whole identity. But I made sure I was open-minded. I looked at what's working out for other people, and I thought, software, let's give that a go. That doesn't sound too bad, considering the condition I have. And I gave it a go, and it was actually it was really mind expanding, being like, actually, no, this is pretty fun. The conditions of this job are really great. The exciting problems you have to solve every day are real good. And I ended up, surprisingly, through the pivot I had to make in my career, getting on a much, a path I never expected to be on. So you can, out of adversity, end up on a better track.
Yeah, I think that's very powerful. You also mentioned, identity. So I think that, I don't want necessarily spend too much time on this, but I really liked this idea that you explained. Like, I had a certain identity. I had my past, I had that one way I wanted things to go. And when I accepted things, all of a sudden I kind of like broke that linear trajectory and opened myself to other things. And now I found something, better in a way, potentially. I mean, we'll never know. Like, maybe there is a multiverse where another you kept going that way, won a Nobel maybe. But I really think that is a powerful idea. Like, acceptance is what allows you to break free from your own expectation, from your past, and like allow you to grow organically and maybe find better things for yourself. I don't know. I think. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's a very powerful, and so this is, let's say, the background, the story, how you grow into this. And in your blog post, what you do is, kind of like explain to people, okay, if you're going through this, there are some practical things you can do. So can you maybe, talk us about, some of the most effective things that you do to manage chronic pain while working in tech, and like some of the things that you put in the blog post about it?
Yeah. So, apologies for anyone who's already read the blog. I will be recycling a bit here, but it's a good structure to organize my thoughts.
It's short, it's nice. I don't think people will mind, and of course, it's going to be linked down. So
sure. So I do think you need to be gentle on yourself. Every effort counts. So, for example, if you keep measuring yourself by saying, well, I used to be able to do that. I used to be able to walk this many miles to get to school or whatever. it's going to be a downer when, suppose you have some sort of leg injury or something that, establishes a new norm. And I think what you have to be is forgiving to yourself and say every effort counts, even just getting out of bed each day and continuing the fight, saying getting your laundry done, not giving in to despair, or giving in less to despair will even do. And that's really, really vital, to say every effort counts. The other thing is be flexible with your dreams. If your old dreams have moved out of reach, it is totally acceptable to get some new, different dreams that are more in reach, and that can be satisfying. Lots of people have dreams of all shapes and sizes and forms, and the more you are obsessed with this one specific dream, the more you set yourself up for disappointment if that one thing doesn't work out. So multiple dreams, smaller dreams, is very productive, I think. I also think prioritizing work-life balance is absolutely key. It's with chronic pain, every moment of your life, if you've got a higher baseline, ongoing level of pain, is just harder to get through the day than when you maybe weren't in chronic pain. And so it's important to have more time to rest and recover and enjoy your available hours. So if I would say, hustle less, enjoy, reserve some more free time for yourself at the very least. Follow what if your contract says you only actually have to do 7.5 hours or 8 hours or whatever it may be, do those hours and don't keep pushing for no extra reason. And if at all possible, where possible, do try to downsize to a 4-day work week. Now I know this is not always possible, and sometimes very often it will require a job change. But for my last 2 roles in Japan of all places, which is pretty notorious for not accommodating it, I have managed to get a 4-day work week by just saying I'm happy with a pay cut to accommodate it, but it's really important to me. And quite often employers will be okay with that. They might see sort of you will be more refreshed, and also ultimately they've still got your mind around, and just having access to someone, even if it's not all 5 days a week, is still very valuable to them.
I was wondering, so you mentioned, the 4 days week. Is there potentially, I think we've seen, especially in the last couple of years, a lot of research being done and proving that basically people are better at work if they're more rested. So is there anything else that you think, the tech industry in general, the work environment industry could do to support engineers that are dealing with this type of pain or similar health issues, aside from the 4 days work week, if anything comes to mind?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely culture is a huge thing. I've seen the difference between people who have to work on projects, at the very same company, projects where you have an intense team who are chasing milestone after milestone, versus more mature teams who take things slow and steady, but with efficiency. And this idea of mutual care and respect and understanding. Some people have to get to a doctor's appointment in the middle of the day, or even a haircut, whatever. The more you understand other people are not simply working robots, the more you get back in return, because they will accommodate you. Maybe you've got relatives visiting for a very short period of time, you want to catch them. If you have this mutual culture of care and respect, it goes both ways because it's mutual. Not just care, not just accommodating. So I've been focusing on one side of things, but obviously it goes through to not just schedule, but mental health as well. Sort of, if you see something's clearly getting to someone, and you realize you may be, if you're beside them, sitting desk to desk all day, you may be their main point of contact. And if we can possibly normalize the idea of, sharing emotions, it sounds sappy, but whatever. Sharing emotions and saying, how is it going, and don't just say I'm fine, which is a bit of a norm. I think we can definitely get more done.
Yeah, talking about normalizing this type of conversation, I was wondering, do you feel that, like, if you're, like, not your specific company, but like more in general, still talking about the tech industry as a whole, like, if it was like more normalized for the chain of command to be like, hey, we are aware that this is the type of problematic that may hit you. Here's a person you can go and talk to. Like, if it was not a taboo topic, like, hey, chronic pains, they are a thing. We have resources that can support you. Like, have you ever, like, I can, on top of my head, like, think of some mental health resources that get shared internally. For example, here at Microsoft, we do have some, recurring newsletter and emails that talk about health, and they bring up mental health. I was wondering, do you think it would help, like, if chronic pains were also like one of these topics that were brought up? Like, would it? Do you think it would help because people then would also feel empowered to talk about it?
I think for sure, if the more companies mention something, the more it becomes normalized, and the more facilities they provide for something, the more as well. Certainly, in-house counselors, in-house therapists, this is really, more possible for super large organizations, but at the same time, it would make a big impact in such places as well. I think sort of mental health awareness days are a little. It's one thing, but really what you need. It's not like one day of the year we remember there's mental health issues. It's really, you need an ongoing. By the way, my door's always open, but here's a flowchart. If you get into this situation, what resources are at your hands? I know Microsoft have some of these things on the topic of chronic pain. My brother actually interned at Microsoft and got involved as the he did something regarding accessibility. He was an accessibility officer, and so he, I learned a lot about resources available if you need ergonomic accommodations, such as a standing desk, special mouse and keyboard, and that sort of thing. And I think it's good that these office-specific chronic pains, like repetitive strain injury and back pain, these are well understood. And this is a great start. There are many invisible chronic pains, and so often you're stuck wondering, like, does this count as a disability? Can I get any assistance for this? Am I just whinging? And I think society has a long way to go before we can tackle all forms of chronic pain and normalize all of them.
Yeah, especially because you mentioned, like, oh, maybe I'm like, you don't know how to talk about it, you don't know who to interact with, so you're like, oh, well, I feel, I don't know, a pain in my wrist. Oh, it's probably nothing. I'll just like keep going, or like I'll try to change slightly how I hold my mouse, and then like 3 months later, like you need to go under surgery. Like carpal tunnel is one of those. So it's not one of those things where you can just wing it and see how it goes. Like, you may be making the situation worse. So I really think that what you're mentioning, and yes, like at Microsoft, we're big in accessibility and ergonomics. Like that's I think one of the things that makes me most proud about the Xbox is in fact, it's basically the only console that has like proper accessible controller devices. Like there's an entire set of those, which are like whenever I see that part of the company showing off those things, I'm like, hell yeah! And then I look at Nintendo and I was like,
That's strange.
But
'Cause
no.
Nintendo is supposed to be the sort of everyone company, aren't they? Well,
I mean,
the
I don't
family
think
company.
they've done like many accessible controllers. Like I still remember the Nintendo 64 one with that super weird shape. There was. I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I swear I'll close it off very, very soon. There was a YouTube video that the other day I saw about this one guy that got through a surgery. He lost one of his arms, so he couldn't play video games anymore. So he explained like all the things he tried as like video games controller, and I think remembering that we should care about these people as well and like give everyone like the possibility to do everything, and like we just need to create the hardwares. It's not a problem, it's something we can solve. It's yeah. Sorry, I went a bit on a tangent. So we talked about resources and things that people can do. I was wondering like if any of the people that are watching this are facing issues like about chronic pain, do you have any like resource or specific steps that you would recommend them to manage their pains, their mental health, so that they can get better and also improve their career by proxy?
That's a tough one, actually. So, I mean, my journey was entirely self-driven. I had some advantage of having access to my brother, who'd exposed me to the world of ergonomics and that sort of thing. But I can only really offer sort of wishy-washy things of believe in yourself, don't give up. As for whom to talk to about stuff, it's definitely an area I never really uncovered. I was thinking of making my own sort of chronic pain meetup group locally, but at the same time, I don't. It feels a little depressing to think of your identity as being one who's in pain. So I think there's a time and a place for it. You can definitely benefit from talking with other people going through similar stuff. But at the same time, we are, as humans, we are social creatures. And I think you should maintain your support network. You maybe don't even need to, unload about specifically your chronic pain issues. I think just feeling the warmth and friendship of people who value you validates everything you're fighting for, and gives you that strength to say, you know what, I can still have fun like I used to. Nothing's really changed, and I love these people. In other words, misery likes company. And also, obviously, keep up on exercise. Do not, if you're in chronic pain, it gets harder and harder. Like I hate jogging. This thing hurts and that thing hurts, and I think you really have to give yourself a no excuses, immutable day each week to say we will at the very least we'll do one day of exercise to make sure it never gets worse than that. And you have to have faith that for all the bad times that there'll be, it won't stay like this. It will get better in the future. That is to say, life comes in seasons.
Thank you for sharing all of that. And for what's worth, we're half a world away. I'm in London, you're in Tokyo, but I really appreciate and value you. And I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet you in person. Like we chatted along for many years, and I'm truly grateful that you decided to do this silly thing with me. And it takes honesty, it takes vulnerability to be this open, and I'm really grateful for you as a person. You're so kind. Thank you so much. So to close it off a bit, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with everyone listening?
Okay. It'll be quite generic, I'd say. So, thank you for having me on board to talk about this. I think there's certainly... I don't hear much about chronic pain. And indeed, for Untitled Mental Health Project, I really don't hear much about mental health from other sources as well. So I think this is a really good line of discussion to be opening up and to show, look, not everyone in open source is invincible. And actually, the nature of us overworking and pouring ourselves into hobbies and tinkering and chasing after building great things is, we do neglect our health a bit. Or even if we don't neglect it, our health can get affected. And so I think it's we should have a lot more of this, and thank you very much for running this project, and I think I'm circling back on myself, and having me along.
Thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate all of this you said today, and I hope that someone will find all these words useful. So thank you again for joining me, and good luck with everything going forward. Goodbye.
My pleasure. Bye.
Hey everyone, Editing Lorenzo here. Just wanted to say thanks that you watched until the end. This is episode 2 of Untitled Mental Health Project. So if you want to check out the other episodes, they should be on screen right now. And if not, you can also just let me know how you liked it. I'm still trying to figure out the right approach. You will see if you watch all the videos that there are different styles and different formats. So yeah, I would love to hear your feedback. If you know anyone that would be a great guest, please let me know as well, because I want to try to make a video every month this year. So fingers crossed I'm going to be able to do that. And yeah, for everything else, remember in the description below, there's going to be all the links for me, for Jamie, and all the things that we talked about. And aside from that, I wish you well. Mental health is important. Take care of yourself.